So today's video is a rather interesting one and slightly different than the usual. In today's video, we're touring a castle and exploring some business opportunities in this piece of real estate. If this is your first time coming to the channel, here on ENTP Life, we mostly talk about real estate and business hacks and healthcare, showing you the path so that you can do the same. Ultimately, I want you to be able to live your dreams. My dream is to travel internationally and live throughout the world, and I'm showing you the steps that I've taken to do so. If you watch this video to the very end, I'm going to be discussing exactly what the history is of this building and what we're planning to do and proposing to the mayor of this city to bring life back to this city. If you haven't seen my series here in Mussomeli, I came to Mussomeli because they were selling properties for just €1. I ended up buying a few properties here myself, renovating them, and documenting the entire experience here on the channel. If that's something that you want more of, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this video with anybody who's interested in living the Dolce Vita. Welcome to ENTP Life. My name is Carl Pierre, and this is going to be an exciting one. This is so cool. So this castle was first built by the king Manfredo, and it sits at one of the highest points here in Mussomeli. The story starts out that this king had this castle built, but ended up getting killed as some sort of traitor to the Spanish church. If I remember correctly, that's what the history is. And from there were other families that took over. When you first walk into the castle, the first thing that you come across is the garage. It literally was where people parked their horses. So you might be thinking, what exactly is this room? This room was actually the king's garage. If you look down at the ground, there's spots for each horse. And from what I was told by the tour guide, 50 horses were parked in here, as well as the king's horse. So imagine going up those steps, riding your horse through that door, and then pulling up right into your garage and pulling your horse into your spot. Like, this building was built in the 1300s. So, you know, traveling through time, that's what life was really like. Let's take it a bit further. Imagine hosting like a dinner party in the same exact space. You have these see-through floors, which are pretty awesome. And then you have like this arched ceiling. It's really scenic, and I can imagine so many different things happening here. There's so many different ways that somebody can use this space. Imagine hosting weddings here, large dinner events, conferences, or just business parties so that you can impress your clients. Now, if I control this property, which I might have the opportunity to negotiate with the city to do something pretty cool here, these are the sort of things that I'm thinking about if making the investment here in Mussomeli. Man, this is freaking incredible. It's really crazy that people live this way, right? First of all, the castle that was like the ultimate luxury location is nothing compared to your typical suburban house in the United States these days. There was no running water, there was no electricity, there was no heat, and it gets cold here, cold enough to snow in Mussomeli. So imagine living like this. Like, of course, it seems kind of grand, and the idea of having a castle is pretty fantastic, but you have to imagine that life was pretty hard here. Just climbing up the damn stairs to get to the top gets you winded. So imagine having to do that every single day. Maybe you're carrying a sword, maybe you're with armor. Absolutely ridiculous way to live. But people lived like this in the extreme luxury just 800 years ago. Now, the style is more of the Gothic period, so the arches are a little simplified. They're not as ornate, I guess, in that time period. Like if you were to think about castles built in the Renaissance, or even castles that were built like in the Baroque period, were a little fancier, a little more ornate. The Gothic period was a little more straightforward, and you can kind of see that in the design of the arches. Now, on the wall behind me, it highlights all the families that came after the first king that was. And I think the fate for most of the kings was that. It's kind of funny when you think about Game of Thrones and what happened to Game of Thrones. It seems like once you ascend into power, then everybody's really gunning for your position. I wouldn't want to be in that position. I'd rather be like some mid-level serf or something like that, that at least I could eat and just get by, rather than being at the head of things and dealing with all that pressure. Especially when that pressure could lead to you being tortured, held in the prison downstairs, or any of the above. Now, one thing that's really cool about Mussomeli, which I haven't quite discussed much on the channel, is that this community is pretty tight. Everybody knows everybody, and it's open enough to allow foreigners to participate in the innovation and change of this city. So one of the things that I've been discussing with the mayor and Cecilia, a friend that I've made here, was what are the possibilities with this castle? Aside from it being a historic landmark that people can come and tour, the castle really doesn't do much to generate much revenue for the city. The city owns the castle, and they're looking for ways to try to increase tourism, increase monetization of the castle, and really just use what is a very well-preserved castle to generate capital for the people of the city, create jobs, etc. So one of the things that I've been thinking about was using this castle to host events and weddings. Now, this goes for both all the women who fantasize about living in a castle, having a princess-like wedding. This would be the perfect setting for it. You have large open spaces, high ceilings, you could host quite a few people, and since it would be like a travel or destination wedding, you might only have 30 or 60 people who actually come to Italy and do this with you. And for the guys who are watching the channel and are thinking about how to impress their lady, whether you're thinking about getting engaged or you want to do some sort of grand wedding, where else would it be better to actually propose or host a wedding and say, hey, look what I put together for your friends and family? It's a real awesome destination. You already know the food will be great. It's Italian food, and we know Italian food is some of the best on the planet. And it's gonna be Italian food made by Italians in Italy. So none of that stuff that you'll get out of New Jersey or New York, which is pasta, ragu sauce, and some beef sprinkled on top of it. Now it's gonna be authentic Italian food. There's tons that you could do here to decorate the space, and the pictures will come out wonderfully. Another idea that I had, given that I'm in aviation, is to actually have hot air balloon rides from this location. That's something that would appeal to more of the kind of regular tourists who are thinking what they can do in the countryside. You could come on over to Mussomeli, take a hot air balloon ride from the castle, spectacular views, almost like drone-like views. Again, great site to propose, show off to your friends. I think those are the things that can be done to raise revenue from this site itself. So those are the ideas that are swirling around in my head. If I'm able to create a business plan around that makes sense, then of course you're gonna see some of that come to the channel. As always, these are just ideas. Most of them don't come to fruition, some of them do. So if it does come to fruition, then certainly I'm gonna be here showing you exactly what we've decided to do with this castle. So tell me, what do you think? Would you want to get married in a castle like this? If so, let me know right in the comment section below. Once again, thanks for joining me here at ENTP Life. Like, subscribe, and share this video with anybody that you know is planning their wedding. Until the next one, take care.